Hello, welcome to Financial TV. 2008 was indeed a year which many investors will want to forget. Increasing home prices, rising foreclosures, which snowballed into an economic crisis which we all have seen was so disastrous. Let's have a look on a heartbreaking event which happened during the crisis. The economic downturn wasn't just concentrated in the US, it spread throughout the globe like wildfire. This was the worst global economic downturn since the Great Depressions. Such parallels invite comparisons between the two. Do a lot of us actually know about the Great Depressions? What insights learned from the Great Depressions could have been implemented to evade the devastating financial crisis of 2008? Therefore, me and my colleagues will try to educate you about the depressions. We will consider the causes and effects of the Great Depression as well as look at the relationship of it with the recent crisis of 2008. Also, we'll try to find out if there are any possible signs of similar crisis in the future. So, what exactly was the Great Depression? Great Depression was a period of severe deflationary pressure originating in the United States and soon spreading throughout the globe. It was the longest, deepest, and the most widespread depression of the 20th century, commencing just after the World War I. Let's have a closer look on the crisis.
So what are the factors causing this nightmare in the United States? One of the major reasons for such a serious and sudden economic recession is the growing numbers of returning troops. After the World War I, the industrial production was still making a recovery and could only provide limited job opportunities. The excess labor then resulted in numerous people being unemployed. This led to the growth of labor unions and they soon put pressure on the government. In addition, excess labor means that the employers will push the wage rate downwards. This results in people having below average incomes, increasing the level of absolute and relative poverty, with low income leading to less money supplies in the economies. The government soon began to feel the pressure of deflation, resulting in continuous change in their policies. Another reason was the decrease in agricultural commodity price. Because of the increased European agricultural supplies during the post-war recovery and excess food production in the United States, there were not enough people buying the domestic food, causing a steadily low food price. Tighter monetary policy to combat the post-war inflation in 1990s is another reason to blame. Consequently, inflationary pressure reduced investment since the expected yield value became disturbed. The recovery process was worsened in 1929 due to the stock market crash and that wiped out a lot of nominal wealth. Real GDP per capita was reduced and this resulted in a slowdown of economic process. This was the worst effect of the Great Depression. And I will pass to Ivan to talk about the effects.
The Great Depression brought massive devastation to the US economy. Half of the nation's banks failed, the unemployment rate increased from 3.2% in 1920s to about 25% in 1933. Housing prices plummeted 30%, global trade collapsed by 60%. The stock market lost 90% of its value in 4 years and it took 25 years to recover. In addition, prices for agricultural products dropped to the lowest level since the Civil War. As a result, the farmers became homeless, the average family income decreased by 40%. The Great Depression also brought instability and uncertainty to the society. The crime rate increased as stealing was the only way for the unemployed to get food. Suicide rates, malnutrition, and prostitution all increased significantly due to poor living. Healthcare services would only be available for the urgent and dying patients. With a sharp declination in public education spending, there were less opportunity of receiving higher education. And now I will pass on to Ray to talk about the similarities between the Great Depression and the financial crisis in 2008.
Although there were nearly a century separating the two financial crises, if we look carefully, we can still see some common characteristics shared by the two incidents. First, both the Great Depression and the 2007 financial crisis were caused by a lack of regulations in the financial markets that resulted in many financial institutions being bailed out. Both were preceded by expansions with people that were unaware of the risks they faced, or in other terms information asymmetry, which worsened moral hazard problem. The eventual growth and burst of the bubble took place, which marked the start of both crises. Coincidentally, just before the economies were pushed into the stage as seen in the global financial crisis and Great Depression, the governing bodies in both incidents adopted discretionary monetary policies that aimed to reduce interest rate rapidly. The rapid decrease in interest rate, which was aimed at reducing deflation, wasn't a success. In fact, deflation worsened, not necessarily because of a liquidity trap, but in fact due to failures in short-term rates. Moreover, in both incidents, the United States was the epicenter and the effect spread worldwide.
There are several differences between the 2007 financial crisis and the Great Depression. First of all, there are different causes for the two crises separately. The Great Depression is characterized by the gold standard, which is a correlation between the currency and the gold price in order to maintain a stable value. While in the financial crisis of 2007, the prominence in subprime mortgage and derivatives increases the risk of default and resulting in an asset bubble. The actions of the Fed Reserve were also different. During the Great Depression, the Fed withdrew funds from the banks and prevented the balance sheets from further worsening. While in the 2007 financial crisis, the fiscal and monetary policies act promptly pumping money into the banking system and the economy. Finally, there are different levels in international cooperations between the two massive crises. In the Great Depressions, governments were unwilling to make sacrifices for collective benefits. Therefore, it leads to a failure and destabilization of the currencies in the long term. On the contrary, in the recent financial crisis, the governments were more cooperative. The G20 in 2008 and 2009 were able to make crucial agreements which assist recovery.
One of the most important lessons learned from the Great Depression of 1920s was the establishment of automatic stabilizers. These are economic policies and programs designed to offset the fluctuation in the level of economic activity without the intervention by government or any other regulatory party. For example, unemployment insurance and welfare benefits. When the economy is facing a downturn, or such stabilizers automatically activate, bringing the economy back into stabilization. This was one of the reasons that the 2007 financial crisis was less severe compared to the Great Depression of the 1920s. The ever-growing necessity for financial regulation became prominent after seeing the effects of the crisis. As a result, in 1980s, securitization process of the banks developed. Capital requirements and deposit insurance reduced the risk of financial institutions and prevented such bank crises in the future. In addition, another term that came into effect was frugality. It means that money have to be allocated efficiently, giving priority to certain tasks in order to minimize the risk of economic collapse. For example, nowadays, most countries see debt as a priority over other cash outflow requirements. David Kennedy of Stanford University said in an interview that it's hard to imagine the effects of the Great Depression and such a period even existed. Hence, this shows the magnitude of the event and the importance of understanding it. In most countries, the term crash is often used for market downturns and temporary periods of recession. However, the Great Crash of 1929 is used to refer to more than 3 years of economic misery. So, Saurav, what do you think are the possible signs of the next financial crisis?
Well, in my opinion, I don't think a financial crisis like the Great Depression could happen once again because the world markets have advanced so much in technology and information that it's just next to impossible for a Great Depression to happen once again. Anyway, the Great Depression will be a seminal event in the economic history of the world. After thorough analysis, I think there might be a economic crisis originating from the euro. You know why? We have the debt crisis going on in Greece and Italy, right? Even the over dependence on Germany by the other countries. Also, we have the tensions which happened after the Brexit. Also, the quantitative easing plans which failed, right, in the euro. So in my opinion, I think that Europe will fail out of liquidity anytime soon. What do you think?
I also think that true, your opinion is true in one way, but I also think like looking at the future and the current growth of virtual currencies like Bitcoins, Ethereum, etc. The cryptocurrencies could lead to our next financial crisis. The reason is because like cryptocurrencies, they have an anonymous environment because anyone could launder money with that because those transactions are in fact like impossible to track. For example, and this has led to like many people losing wealth. And also, if money laundering happens like in the economy, a country could run out of liquidity, and if they can't control money supply, like exchange rate, everything would be like difficult to control. And also, like considering about the losing of the wealth effect, just 2 days back, Bitcoin holders like suffered so much. Like over the night, Bitcoin value just fell over $1,000. That's a massive loss. And many analysts say that the Bitcoin bubble had burst. And also similar to the 2001 dot-com bubble, financial crisis of 2007, I think, in my opinion, the next financial crisis could be developed because of these cryptocurrencies. And also, but in my opinion, like even if the next financial crisis strike, I think the magnitude would be less compared to that of 2007 financial crisis or even the 1920 Great Depression because our markets and the world have developed when it comes to information capital, technology, and also integration between the world markets. So we have more knowledge and also more technological advancement and backup to deal with such situations in the future. So, and hopefully we can expect that the world would never go through like a dreadful nightmare like the one seen in the Great Depression of the 1920s.
I think we have reached an end. Thanks for watching this report. I'm Saurav signing off from Financial TV.